All right, special edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Orange. We're up in the capital of Rusty Art, the place where the cowboys meet the city slickers. I think that's kind of true.
Yeah.
We're at Janie's Cafe. Great live music, great place to have coffee. Just kind of iconic Cave Creek.
A lot of Iron Horse cowboys up here.
Iron Horse Cowboys, yes, especially during Bike Week.
During Bike Week.
Our guests today, well, they're not really guests. They're, I don't know what they are, riffraff. Got Eric Forshee, who is our, he's a commercial broker with our brokerage. He's the commercial broker. He's the guru of commercial. And we have a longtime friend and supporter, Brett Vocal, with us. He's our executive producer's father. So when you see glitches in the stuff, it's not only me going, Andy, what'd you do? His dad probably reviewed it and said, Andy, what'd you do? Brett and I met because my last name is Jasper, and he was from Jasper, Indiana. And when he was on Zillow looking for agents in the dark days, he said that's a good reason to get together. So anyhow,
Yep,
Cave Creek. So you live in Cave. You both live in. You both live in Cave Creek.
We both live in Cave Creek.
Why did you pick Cave Creek?
You know, it feels like you're not in a major city, but you're right next to everything you need for a major source. So I like the environment. I like being up here where there's less traffic. People are not in as much of a hurry to get places. And boy, everybody drives the speed limit in Cave Creek, which is interesting.
Yeah, not 1 mile an hour over either, right?
Not 1 mile an hour over.
Boy, that isn't that true?
It is really true.
And and Brett, so you guys have lived here what? Now it's been a couple of years.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and you're building your, I call it as dream home is.
My forever home.
Yes, his forever home, which is going to be a really phenomenal execution of architecture and blending in with the surroundings. And there's so many things we could say about that property. But so in the end, you kind of have a story of how you ended up here permanently. I mean, your final home, because you had been through a process.
Yeah. So we have had a second home here in Phoenix back when we lived in Indiana. And had RideTech for all those years. We bought a second home down in Moon Valley in 2014, and we would spend a couple of months a year, all told, a week or two at a time. But we knew that eventually we were going to sell RideTech, and we wanted to build a new house. And I started on drawing the floor plan of this house in the winter of 2017. So 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. And we bought a building lot over in Scottsdale down in Pima Acres back then. And between the architect not being able to get the ball across the finish line and the city of Scottsdale just has, some pretty challenging stuff they put in front of new home builders. After 3 years of trying to get that project started, we finally pulled the plug on it. And we were driving around one day up here in Cave Creek, and we run across these townhomes over in the Hidden Rock area. And we really liked the look of them, the patinaed metal, the wood, the glass garage doors, all that kind of good stuff. And we bought a house there the next day.
I remember. That was very quick. We're up here. We're up here. I think we want to look at this. I think we want to buy this. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think I remember telling you, I said, making an offer that's, I don't know, it was 50 or 100 grand less than they were asking, but in reality, buy the damn house.
Yep.
And we paid nearly asking price for it, as such things went in 2021.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
what you did.
Everybody did. Or
felt
more.
lucky not to have to get in a bidding war with anybody. And we love the community. We love the house. But my wife is a sewer and a quilter and a crafter, and she has been confined to a 15 by 20 spare bedroom for those activities. And
Solitary confinement.
what she really wanted was a 1,200 square foot sewing room, which is what we now have at the new place. I wanted a workshop to go piddle in, and I was unable to, obviously with the compact lots over there, there's no opportunity to build that. So now, currently, I'm driving a half hour each way to my workshop over in Deer Valley. And, with the upcoming new place, I'll have about 5,300 square foot of garage and workshop 50 feet from my house on property. Sharon will have her 1,200 foot sewing room. And it'll be the first time I've had all my stuff in one place since I've had stuff.
Wow.
That's a statement.
Then you'll never leave home again.
Very possible, yeah. I'll bet. So currently I'm putting about 15,000 miles a year on my truck driving back and forth, and I'll bet that goes down by 75% once we move in up there.
Well, you were very diplomatic about your experiences with building the first time, and I think when people come from,
Well, I can name names.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're not that big and powerful yet, so. But
Yeah, they know who they are.
They know who they are.
But that process was,
Very educational.
I've never seen quite so much. The architect is one thing that kind of speaks to what happens when people are famous or infamous, one of the two, and but the city process too was just not. It wasn't.
The city of Scottsdale moves very slowly and deliberately. They want what they want, and there's no compromise.
A lot of truth to that.
The architect was just truly a victim of his own success. He didn't like to hear no, and he didn't like to say no. The HOA, I knew what I was getting into going in over there. I knew the design parameters, and the president of the HOA was my upcoming backyard neighbor. He was very gracious and very helpful. But, they have rules, and those rules are in place for a reason, and I respect that. Here, I have no HOA.
You are the HOA.
I am the HOA. Yep, I got 5 acres. I can do about anything I want. And I can't say enough about my builder, MC Builders. Keith Wynn is the project manager. Charlie Siddle is the owner. Marty Ciccarelli is a partner. Unfortunately, he passed here a few months ago. But him and his wife Tammy have made us, all of them have made us feel so welcome. And I've been very, very immersed in the building process. And I told everybody that going in, the process is as important to me as the end result. And I feel so good about this project. And with the other project, it got to where I didn't even, even if we would have built that house, I'd have probably sold it. 'Cause the process just irritated
Too
me so bad.
frustrating.
But this has been an awesome experience. And we love Cave Creek even more than Scottsdale. I call it Key West with cactus. It's a cowboy artesian town.
Instead of water.
Coin that phrase. Yeah.
Key
Yeah.
West with cactus.
I go up to the Roadhouse probably 2 or 3 evenings a week before I go home for supper and have a drink or so there, and they know who I am. They got to sit in front of me before I'm settled on the bar stool. That's fun stuff. It's like being back in Indiana, really. And I love the live music. We love even when the bikers come in town in the spring and the fall.
The
it's happy
rumble and the
noise.
roar.
But it's part of the experience, right?
It is.
So it's. I think what's funny is when people move in an area and go, I moved here because I like this idea, and then when they get in, they don't like it because they're not in my backyard, kind of. But that's not Cape Creek. Cape Creek is you move in and embrace the community because it's part of its charm. It's why
Either
people
love
come
it or
here.
you don't. It's
You
not
either
going to
love it or you
change.
don't.
Yeah,
You know,
you-
everybody, a couple of my friends that have visited from the Midwest, they comment on how friendly everybody is. They all wave to each other. I said that's because they all carry.
Yeah. That's probably true. There are a lot of guns up here too.
And
There's a, you know, so where my new house is located, we're back in behind the Circle K and the feed store that are here in town. And if you're familiar with Cave Creek, you know where that's at. So the feed store gets hay deliveries, about 3 semi-loads a week. And they always come right past our house so they can make the corner and unload there on the side of the street. That's how many horse people were up here. 3 semi-loads of
Yeah,
hay.
we buy hay from them during
Yeah.
when we're boarding horses.
Yep. And we have a walking trail, a county walking trail that cuts across the front of our property. And the amount of walking traffic, dog walkers, hikers, people on horse, it is not unusual to see a half a dozen people on horses with, you know, a pistol strapped to their side and beer in the other hand going down that trail. It's just not. It's the coolest thing ever.
it is interesting. It's like you can go to the Chip and ride the mechanical bull if you want. You can.
They have real bulls you can ride there during Friday nights sometimes.
Well, look at that. I have not.
You
I
can
don't
get on
stay
a
up
real
that late,
bull.
but
I think the most entertaining thing up there is the bull riding is interesting, but the kids riding the sheep.
Yeah, that's
that
my
is
favorite.
Awesome.
That's my favorite. I spent a lot of time trying to talk my grandson to do it when he was 5, and then he saw a little girl do it, and she was awesome. He's like, I can't do that.
My wife
he
and
wouldn't
I-
even try.
My wife and I went up there, and she watches those kids get thrown off the sheep, and
Isn't
she's
that
like,
hilarious?
"Where is their mother?" I said, "On that bull."
On
over
the
there."
bull. What, and you didn't try to get Andy to ride a sheep?
Yeah, you know,
Andy
He may be too
bull
tall.
riding.
I would be afraid that he would
No.
take to that.
Yeah.
He's already a very proficient race car
That's
driver.
true. No fear.
Was that Freudian? You said married. Did you say married race car driver or no?
No,
what?
very proficient.
Oh,
Proficient.
I
Yeah.
thought I heard. No, not yet. Okay.
No.
never mind.
No, he's nowhere near marriage. He's smarter than that.
Yeah.
So, Eric, when you look at commercial real estate, so you've helped Brett with a few of his commercial needs, but what do you see the differences are about Cave Creek versus other parts of the valley?
I mean, Cave Creek's it's a unique community. So the commercial here is driven by the retail activity. A lot more tourism in Cave Creek than some of the other cities around. We get a lot of people who come here just to be part of the cowboy or the Iron Horse motorcycle environment. And so the commercial property up here tends to be geared towards that touristy retail kind of environment. Same thing with the restaurants. The restaurants, there's the community restaurants like Harold's and the one we go
Harold's
to.
is always busy.
That's one of the
Always.
oldest restaurant in the state, actually, and they've maintained a lot of local interest. So the locals go there as well as the tourists.
Don't even try to go there when the Steelers are playing.
Right.
You
When the
need a
Steelers are playing,
subscription.
don't even go.
You need a membership to get in there.
Yeah, but it's a unique community because there's a strong local component that drives certain parts of the retail and the commercial, but then there's a strong touristy component that drives part of it, and so it's a unique environment. A restaurant that survives up here is not the same as one that would go
Well, it's
into
just-
Old Town
yeah.
or downtown Phoenix.
I was just going to say that it's a very entrepreneurial little community. You look at all the small businesses. There's no big.
There's no franchises
Yep.
up here. There's no franchise restaurants, and the franchise restaurants tend to not do well.
And I think the only franchise in town is the Dairy Queen because they were grandfathered in before Cave Creek passed an ordinance.
You got that
against-
Federico's, but that's more of a, I don't
That's
know,
a-
it's
that's a
a
local
targeted
chain.
local
Yeah.
chain. Then you get Circle K.
I get the feeling, and it may be just an impression, but with some obvious exceptions, I think a lot of the businesses here the touristy type shops are owned by people whose business is not their primary means of income.
No, I agree
think
with
they're
that.
doing this as maybe a retirement gig, or they've got, this is.
And they're involved.
And
This
they're
isn't an
involved.
environment where
they're doing it
people.
because they want to, not
Yeah.
because they have to.
Yeah.
I think the owners are involved every aspect of the businesses
Yeah.
here in town. They don't just hire a manager and collect money.
Speaking of owners, Julian, you want to just can you got 2 seconds, sit down, and just tell us about your business? Because he's a local business hobbyist.
Yeah.
Business hobbyist.
Kidding.
I like that.
He's the guy putting the cushions out. He's the guy doing all this. So,
I don't have another business. This is the only business I have.
well, and you do it well.
Thank you.
Very well.
So, and it speaks to what we just said. The people who own businesses here are integrally involved in their business.
Absolutely.
They're paying attention to every aspect of what's going on, how their customer base is reacting, and what they want. And
Yep.
so they customize it to what we want. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the following pieces, and it's this obviously your establishment, but even some of the others, it's both local and it's people that tourism, they both blend into one business, and I think that's what makes sense. But you got to make it an environment where they want to do that. I mean, you could, if you don't know where Janie's is, you might drive by, right? But once you know it's there, you're going, where am I
You
going to
stop
park?
every
You go, where
time.
am I going to park?
Where do you park?
I think your place here is it's definitely a destination. People don't just wander by necessarily because you're back in behind another building and everything, but people.
Sure.
This is the destination.
So how long have you owned this?
11 and a half years.
Oh my.
Yeah, and we've seen it
that's a
change
lifetime.
and evolve. When
Yeah.
you first took over, I saw it get customized to the community and start to reach out more. And people, like, I wanted to come here. It's like, oh yeah, let's go there. They got music tonight, or let's do this, or let's do that.
One of my
I have music
favorite.
every night. I love it.
I know,
can
I
hear it
love that.
as well in my backyard across the street as if I was sitting right here.
One of my favorite New Year's Eves was we came down here, and the mix of people, that's what I love to observe people. But it was everyone from Desert Mountain people to the Cowboys, and everyone was just enjoying themselves and having a good time. And that's kind of that sense of, I don't like the word community, but that's truly what community is. Hey, we all just have a place where we can come together and
Be comfortable.
and we're all on the same level.
Yeah.
We're all drinking the same stuff. And so Eric talked a little bit about how this has evolved in 11 years. What about some of the hurdles that you had in that evolution? Because now I think you're very established. I know it looks easier than it is. As you're carrying cushions in and out, you had the sewer thing. I mean, we've all kind of lived through some of those.
Sure. I mean, you talk about COVID.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes. The bathroom remodel that we had last year that, put us at limited capacity, I guess you
Yeah.
could say, for 11 weeks.
Yeah.
What I assumed was a 4 to 6 week project, what I was informed.
Bigger and bigger.
I'm not a construction guy, I'm a restaurant guy. And so financial hurdles, obviously, for both of those instances. I took over, they were doing music on Fridays and Saturday nights. They just started doing Saturday mornings. They were closing at 3 o'clock, if it was busy enough, or closing a little earlier. So number one thing was consistency. Not what on the menu can I eat, it's we have everything on the menu.
Yep.
And I think that we had a reputation we had to overcome fairly quickly on that, and staying open when we said we'd be open. Extended the hours pretty quickly. It was January I took it over. And
Well, at least you didn't do it in July.
Still open in July.
Yeah.
If I had money to burn,
Well, yeah.
then the summer's the time to do it.
Right.
You figure out what works, what doesn't work.
That's true.
With all the regulars, and then when it's time for season, then you're all
ready
for it.
to.
I didn't have money to burn, but I did have enough that I was able to afford this place and could get through for a while. So taking over in season just made sense to me, and so hit the ground running. Right. Selfishly, yes, I have a restaurant background, but I was doing Sizzlers, Old Country Buffet, things like that. So when somebody comes up on your first day here and they said, I need a half calf, no whip, Skinny vanilla latte. You're like, translation. It's almost like learning a foreign language, right? But
You can thank Starbucks for that. Nobody even knew what that stuff was before
absolutely,
Starbucks.
yeah. So they did help us. Anyway, so that was part of their transition, and it was figuring out what works. So I'm going to keep the doors open until 5, even though it says 3. Hey, look, bit by bit, there's more and more people coming in. They're kind of enjoying this. So you've got the back bar that's open. You've got the front bar. So you got people sitting on both sides, and they're talking to each other, and so quickly we got regulars in a very short time. The music thing that seemed like a no-brainer. We don't have TVs in here. What do people love? They love live music, and so we just started adding to it. And the very first thing we did was a Sunday afternoon, and that took quite some time for that to kick in. So it's one thing to say, hey, let's give this a shot, and a week later, well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's another to ride it out for that 3-month period and actually have it work. So
Well, it's interesting you talk about that because there's so many places that you'll go, hey, we'd like to go see some music, and it's only late. Well, not everyone's late night people, and especially year round. It's kind of like it's summer. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, where can we go? And that, to me, I know that would take time, but to me, that also leads to getting that local following that's through summer and in winter. So,
what you see is the locals will quite often stay away. Bike Week's a great example, right? There's several types of people that are up here. Several places that do really well, and everybody else might as well shut down. In season, a lot of locals like, I don't want to deal with the traffic, and so we have the people that are here 6 months, that are here just for a week or 2 for spring training and things like that. And then when they all leave, everybody's like, we get our town back. and so that's what keeps us going through the summer. Now, of course, there's people who come all the time, especially based on the artists, because you got some artists who do a little bit better than others. And those are the ones you want to book a little more regularly. But
so over 11, 12 years, how have you seen Cave Creek evolve? Because you've kind of talked about how from your business evolving, you've talked about how that customer base has evolved and why people come. What have you seen? What's the biggest surprise to you, and what's been maybe the most consistent piece of growth?
Okay. No, that's a great question. I mean, I'm right across the street from a condo development that did the first phase. People started moving in during COVID. We didn't have music. They started complaining about it. Luckily, those people moved away. And then the second phase got built. Everybody knew what was going on, and now we're in the third phase. They're getting closer and closer to that street. I'm not too worried about noise complaints. We're not that loud. I know you can hear it from your house, but it's not obnoxious.
It's happy noise.
It's happy noise. I sit on his porch and listen to your music.
Anybody that will complain about good live music, I don't know what the hell's wrong with them.
The only complaint at his house is they don't serve you there. You have to go serve yourself.
You have to come do a shot over here and then run back.
But he's got a nice bar.
It's interesting you say that because my favorite thing back in my previous life, my dad and I did a lot of land development. So you'd zone land, you'd have land in a big piece that was zoned commercial or zoned industrial, and you have residential and and your tiers around it, and that piece would be the last to develop maybe.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden they come in and they'll make a proposal for a piece that fits all the zoning, and everyone go, not in my backyard. We go, did you look at the did you look at it? And so for this too, I mean, I think part of the success of those condos once they got through their first hurdle, was people want to be downtown. So if someone bought there thinking it was going to be peaceful and quiet, they picked the wrong place because that's part of the vibe.
So they did, but when the first phase, when they first moved in, it certainly was.
Yeah, true.
But just by default, yes.
Hidden Rock, which is across the street there, we've been talking about, is a little unique, or maybe it's not unique, but nearly all of the residents there, this is their second home or third home. It's not their primary residence. So like this time of year in July,
nobody's there.
And I can tell who's in and who's out by the number of trash cans on Wednesday morning, right? There were 6 homes that had trash cans set out of 42 in that community, and we are one of 6 families that live there year round, and everybody else is they come and go, and I've seen people buy houses there and you see them once, and then you never see them again. It's, you know, and then they sell the house, you know. So that community has a very high churn rate, in my opinion. But you know, you got to remember, I'm used to living in the Midwest where, you know, somebody gets married in their 20s, they build their forever home then, and they live there until they die. And that's the way things are done there. It's not quite that way.
That is a big difference here. Although we're starting to see that change, I think, as people are moving in. You know, that wave of you
Do you mind if I jump up just for a second?
Hey,
Okay. I'll be right back.
This is a working podcast, right?
Well, I think the big difference between the Midwest, small town Midwest, and here is simply the cost of housing. It is, I would consider it absolutely impossible for a young couple that's standing completely on their own without help from either set of parents to buy a new home, and certainly not buy or build a home that they're going to live in for any significant amount of time. The cost of entry is just prohibitive.
Well, that is a huge piece of it. There's this kind of misconception of I can find that perfect house and I want a Scottsdale address, and you go, you know, that was 10 years ago. Although I was just reading, I did a little rant. There's a study that just came out. I got to send it to you. You know, we hear all of the complaints or the predictions of housing crash, constant. It's the wave on TikTok and all the reels, and it's all these armchair fearmongers. But this study pointed to what I have known and believed and studied for a long time, that we're in a housing deficit in the valley, and from a number of things that really have taken 10 to 12 years to get there. We're in this place right now because of, you know, we got a little more inventory because people thought their houses were still worth 21 prices and rates went up. But they're talking about we have a 56,000 unit deficit, and it isn't going down year over year.
Well, I mean, they're talking. We got 2 brand new semiconductor factories getting ready to come online in the next 12 to 24 months, and now they're talking about building 5 more along the 303 corridor. You can't tell me that's not going to spur the need for housing, entertainment, infrastructure like that. And I tell you what, of all the major metropolitan areas that I have driven through and lived in and experienced all over the country, I think Phoenix does the best job of forward-thinking infrastructure of any place I've ever seen. The roads, just the general infrastructure. The 303 is a perfect example. If you build it, they will come.
Well, and the other piece that is so true about that, when you look at other metropolitan areas, so I'm from Minnesota, obviously, don't you know, originally, and every time they want to expand a road, they got to tear down neighborhoods on each side, and they got to do condemnations, and and here, they called them, I was talking to Charlie McLean, our designate broker, and he was talking about the top 40, or it was the 40 that were the business leaders back in the 60s and 70s. They're the ones that had the vision for Valley Vision. And, you know, so when they built 303, they didn't condemn any land. They just went, okay, let's start building. I mean, It was literally, they planned for all these corridors over time.
Phoenix is a fairly new city.
It is.
It's only about, you know, I was reading something the other day, actually I saw a TV show on it. In 1940, Phoenix had a population of 55,000 people. And now it's what, 6 million?
5 million.
5 million, yeah. So they have the luxury of learning from every other city's mistakes. And they're like, hey, instead of tearing down all these existing structures to build a road, let's go ahead and build it now.
Yeah, they planned ahead.
Yes.
You can see that on a lot of the roads that are being expanded now. Even Pima Road, Scottsdale Road,
Such
there's room to expand.
what a much more superior way to do things.
Well,
If you got this, frankly, you got the sack to do it, and you got the people that'll commit to those kind of decisions.
you talk about Scottsdale Road, that expansion, the church I go to is along there, and they're doing that really quick. and the only thing they really have to be bothered with is moving vegetation that is protected. They had to buy one easement because things changed, but they didn't do any land condemnation. They didn't. It's all there. You can see why. Obviously, you drive by and you see, wow, those walls are way back. And then all of a sudden they do a road expansion somewhere. The community walls. And you can see why they were way back because they already had set aside all that
I
easement.
tell you the other thing I've noticed that when I was down in Moon Valley until about 4 years ago, we were just about a mile or two south of the 101 off 7th Ave there, and they were widening the 101 in both directions, and we're typically a project like that. They went all the way from the 17 to Scottsdale Road, I think, or maybe even further, Frank Lloyd Wright or something. And normally you would think, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare for 5 years. They got it done in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And they didn't waste any time whatsoever. They made it happen. Of course, one thing that is an advantage out here with construction is the weather is
Perfect.
never a problem.
They
It's
like
never-
rain days to
Unless
help
it's
with
too hot.
compaction.
Yeah.
Dust control.
No, we have hot days, not
Yeah.
rain days.
Yeah.
When it hits 117, you may not want to be pouring asphalt. It won't set up. It just stays puddled.
You light it up at night.
Light it up at night, and they do that too.
Yep.
Yep. So any predictions on commercial real estate?
Commercial continues to do really well in Arizona. I mean, the population growth alone, I don't know what it is, a few 100,000 people a year moving here drives everything. It drives your residential markets, but it definitely drives the infrastructure demands and the commercial markets. So we're a city of 5 million people. It's huge. You go from Mesa to Glendale to Peoria to all the way out in Goodyear and Buckeye. There's a lot of different submarkets. Everything on the fringes of the city is growing a little quicker because that's where the growth is happening. When you get to the core of the city, there's not a lot of room for growth. So you'll see a little bit more growth on the commercial side on the fringes where there's room to grow.
One of the benefits I think we've had in our brokerage of having a seasoned commercial broker is that commercial leads, it can be a real indicator of how things are going. I mean, if commercial all of a sudden picks up, doesn't matter if it's big or small, that means there's money moving in or investment or whatever, and businesses. And if it drops off, and I'm not talking about Class A office space, that's the mark they use. Oh, it's empty, and that isn't really what affects communities like Cave Creek. It's small business, and that's a lot of.
Cave Creek's kind of it's a market where your big institutions and your out-of-town investors are not up here.
Yeah.
Cave Creek is local investors and people that know the market and have money to do
Cave
things.
Creek is a little unique in the fact that, for lack of a better term, we're like at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we're surrounded, I guess, just to the north by Tonto National Forest.
Right.
So Cave Creek is never going to be. Nobody's ever going to, barring some act of Congress, nobody's ever going to build, in Tonto National Forest.
No, and you're never going to have a Walmart in Cave
right.
Creek.
You're never going to have a
It's just not gonna
freeway
happen.
here.
We have one.
We do. Is that
That's
actually
not
Cave
Cave
Creek?
Creek.
That's North Phoenix.
Is it? Yeah, that's
It's
right. It's Cave Creek
technically
address.
North
You're right.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
So, and that's another reason we like it. We know that the traffic situation is probably not going to change appreciably.
No.
Whereas down in Scottsdale, we were right off Pima Road. Now, we were only 3 stoplights from the 101, but I mean, that place is a racetrack.
Oh, the density is getting huge.
Yeah.
I mean, all the big developments down there by Frank Lloyd Wright and the old entertainment park there that's going to be developed. The density is going to continue to increase in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I don't see density increasing a lot in Cave
No,
Creek.
and the airport traffic over that Pima Acres and Silverleaf and all those.
Even
it's,
when we bought that lot down there years ago, that was one of the concerns because we were in a direct flight path at Scottsdale Airport. And we made that comment. We drove past there the other day. We sold the lot to a developer that's building a spec house on there. And as we drove around to check the progress on that, just out of curiosity, there, 3 jets landed.
They're not quiet either.
No, they're not. They're
Yeah.
not. Well, any last words of wisdom for our group today?
I don't have anything left.
That's good.
My coffee's gone. I'm
Yeah,
losing
that's
energy.
true. It's time to wrap up. Well, I would, Brett, you got any last words with some moving to Arizona, moving to Cave Creek?
Everybody, all my Midwest friends, they marvel at my tolerance for the heat. Well, I mean, we're sitting here this morning and it's what,
I know, it's beautiful.
85 degrees in the middle of
I got a
July.
long sleeve shirt on.
It's supposed to be this way for the next week or two. And even when it's 117, 118,
Stay in the shade.
just stay in the shade, find some air conditioning. It's not
Come to Janie's, have
Come
a
to
cool
Janie's.
drink,
Come to
right? I mean,
Janie's,
it's what it's all
wonderful
about.
resource here. And my wife and I and both of our kids live out here, and there's just nothing to not like about Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, I say it nearly every day. I say, damn, I love Arizona.
Yeah. We
And I
only
do.
get to 117 like 3 days a year,
Yeah,
maybe 4 days a year. It's not that
the
big. of a deal.
sunshine, the mountains, the cactus. There's no, what I hated the worst about India, and I love India. I've lived there 60 years, but the months of gray, dreary, drizzly, and like I was back there a couple of weeks ago. It was 98 degrees and a 90% humidity. I could work out in
That
that
doesn't
for about
work.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Well, and you can drive to the beach in 5 hours, fly there in 45 minutes, and
Right.
you can be in the mountains in 2 hours. So
and,
you've got
the
options.
amenities here. You want to talk about good restaurants. It's a wonder anybody has a kitchen here.
I know.
and
Good
because
food.
if a restaurant is not good, it's gone pretty quickly.
Yep.
And especially here in Cave Creek, any place you go out to eat is great. Janie's, Harold's, Buffalo Chip, Keeler's.
Yeah, no complaints.
Yeah.
Well, the food at Roadhouse isn't the best. But it's just
Actually,
a
Yeah,
hamburger
and
fries.
my wife loves the onion rings.
Does she really?
See?
See, and I haven't tried the onion
Yeah,
rings, so
there you go.
So,
Eating the wrong stuff. It's not
Yeah.
bad. You're just eating the wrong stuff.
that's probably me.
hey, we'd like to thank Janie's they didn't have a choice. We sat in our usual spots to do our, Julian, thank you for putting up with us. I'm going to put the link to Janie's on this. You guys, if you haven't experienced it, come up here. The live music, the atmosphere,
The great coffee in the
Yep,
morning.
And Sarah is a fabulous barista, right? Yes, woohoo. And if you got thoughts on commercial, call Eric. He's on our website, and come experience Cave Creek. With that, thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, comment, share. The good, the bad, and the orange. Until next time, keep cool.